Hey you guys, it's Peter, and welcome to my channel, Peterisms, where I tell stories of my life and just kind of little tidbits and, I don't know, go down memory lane a little bit. And today I was like strolling through one of my old blogs and I found this post that I had written called Sea Monkey Dreams. And most of these posts that I read on here, I've completely forgotten that I even wrote them, right? But I haven't forgotten the memories of what inspired them. And so I started reading this. And I'm going to read it to you guys in just a second, but it's this whole post about sea monkeys. Now, if you don't know what sea monkeys are, I think I describe it in the post, but sea monkeys are these little crabs or shrimp or something, but like in the ads on television for the kids, because they were all geared towards kids, they would make them like swimming through like cities and like they would build these great like, I don't know. You know, it was very much like the Aztecs back in the day. And they would have movie theaters and they would go on dates and they would have families. Imagine The Sims, but like in real life, and they were sea monkeys. And do I have a picture on here of what a sea monkey is? I think I do. There it is. Can you see it? They were like pink. You can Google sea monkey and it'll come up. And maybe I'll put it as like the thumbnail on this video. But they were pink and then they had like these horn things. And they kind of looked like Who's from Whoville a little bit. Anyway, I was like obsessed with them, right? And, you know, as I was reading this post, it was interesting because like this whole discussion of like Santa Claus and Christmas time, right? So if your child's in the room, you're gonna want to turn this this video off right now. So pause it. But you know, I've been listening to all of these Christmas books lately, and like the Christmas Train by David Baldacci I just finished listening to, and on and on and on. I think I've listened to like 6 so far. I've listened to some really, really good ones, and right now I'm listening to Wishin' and Hopin' by Wally Lamb. And, you know, it's like this whole idea of Santa Claus, and I was telling my husband Alex this, and he kind of looked at me as like I was crazy, right? And I was like, did you ever see that movie with Jacqueline Smith, where I had to make sure I didn't say Jacqueline Hill, the makeup person. Jacqueline Smith from Charlie's Angels. And she and her kids, like their husband lives in this place where they're like trying to find oil and they're gonna strike, all this kind of stuff. So Santa Claus, the elf, comes and gets them and takes them to the North Pole. And she's like an adult woman and she has like a 13-year-old son at the time. And she's like, I can't remember what this movie is called. I'll have to find out and talk about it later. But she's like, somebody here will know what I'm talking about. Anyway, they go to the North Pole because Santa Claus needs to convince her that he's real so that her husband will stop mining near the North Pole, which is hidden behind all these like ice glaciers. But I always have like this fantasy in the back of my head, okay? Like, I know I'm 45. I know there's no Santa Claus. I'm not stupid, but what if, right? I very much believe, like, I've never like wanted to stop believing in things. And I listen a lot to Coast AM late at night, and they talk about, you know, Loch Ness and, you know, all of these conspiracy theories and UFOs and aliens, and I literally believe in everything, right? Like, I mean, if some sleigh came with an elf to come take me to the North Pole to convince me there was a Santa Claus, it wouldn't take a lot to convince me. And it's not so much that I'm gullible or naive, it's that I want to believe in the magic of the world. I've always wanted to remain in the magic of the world. I've always wanted to, you know, live somewhere in a magical escapism kind of place. And it wasn't always because I had this horrible life, you know, like many times growing up as a kid, I had a really magical childhood. I really, really did, you know, and I talk a lot on this channel. I talk a lot about on my vlog about my mom's drinking, but there were also many, many nights of us having chili dinners and her reading me to bed at night, you know, and watching Little House on the Prairie. And that was a lot of my childhood. For as many negative memories as I have for growing up with an alcoholic parent, I have, you know, probably 5 times as many positive memories. But I still, like, wanted to believe in the magic of the world. And I've always been that person. I've always been the person that will believe literally in anything because I just like to keep life interesting. And I don't know how people live that, like, excuse away everything and don't believe that there can be any kind of mystery to anything in the world. It just baffles me. It's like the world and the universe is such a great, huge place. Why wouldn't we want to believe a little bit? And in reading this post today, it kind of took me back to who I was as a kid and reminded me that I'm still kind of that kid. You know what I mean? I am. I'm still that kid. So, Sea Monkey Dreams. When I was a little kid, I was obsessed with sea monkeys. For an entire summer, I begged for them, praying to have a sea monkey family of my own, as seen on the advertisement, thriving on my very own kitchen counter. Finally, my mother relented and mailed off my money, plus shipping and handling. Several weeks later, my sea monkeys kit came in the mail. I was overjoyed as I delicately placed the instructions, the specifically designed sea monkey plastic home for viewing, and the 3 packets labeled 1, 2, and 3 that would bring my family to life. I couldn't wait to watch them play ball, eat dinner together, and swim laps around their perfect little home. Ultimately, unfortunately, that never happened. I mixed the solution in the water and waited for my instant family to appear, but that didn't happen. Days went by and nothing happened except that the water got cloudier and the small plastic tank started to stink. My mother, who forever enabled my imagination and adventures, encouraged me to wait a little longer. Although I noticed she started pushing the tank farther and farther away from where she cooked our meals. 2 weeks later and still no sea monkeys, I'd sit and watch the tank for long periods of time, imagining that at any moment they would poke their heads out from under a little plastic sea monkey castle in the middle of the tank. That didn't happen. A month went by, and the only thing that happened was that water turned murky brown. The tank stunk horribly, and my mother told me I had to flush the water and throw away my sea monkey's dream home. Even though I was horrified, I carried the tank to the bathroom and flushed the remains down the toilet. Knowing me, I probably said some words of condolences to the now deceased sea monkey family that I had never known. Being that I've always suffered from severe undiagnosed ADHD, I instantly ran back into the kitchen, forgetting the last dream home, and asked my mom if I could get a new sea monkey kit with an even better home. In this one, which cost $19.99 plus shipping and handling, there was an entire sea monkey city, including movie theater, apartments, and a shopping mall. I was sure that my family and many others would survive this time, and they would relish living in their new home. The reason the first family hadn't survived was because they had a pitiful home that no one would ever want to live. My mother smiled, I found my money in my secret hiding spot, and we sent off for a better and bigger sea monkey world. But when the sea monkey world arrived, the same thing happened. Nothing. Just murky water and an even more torrid stench than before. I couldn't see anything swimming to go to see movies or join each other for dinners or go shopping at the mall on Friday nights. That was at about the same time that, frustrated, I grabbed the instructions and began reading the fine print, thinking that I must be doing something wrong. What I found angered me beyond belief. Sea monkeys were not, in fact, sea monkeys. They were extremely small shrimp. I had been sold a bunch of crap. The whole thing was a jip. My mother consoled me as we took to Sea Monkey City, her nose held high above the stench, and pitched it into the trash. Never again would I be spending any of my hard-earned money on sea monkey apartments, beaches, cities, or cruise ships. I had been fooled, and it had felt horrible. Looking back, I'm not really sure why I wanted them so bad. Their pictures are pretty scary, so I'm not sure they would have made the best of friends. I think it was the idea of having a whole world at my fingertips to watch and observe, me playing God to a world of unsuspecting beings who love nothing more than to shop, watch movies, and relax lazily on the beach. I could totally relate. Lots of therapy could probably unearth what those sea monkey dreams were all about, but to me, they were just as simple as having an overstimulated imagination in just about everything and a sincere, innocent hope in all things good and true, the most perfect world possible. Those are 2 truths I still hold dear today. Even as I'm writing this, I'm wondering if maybe this time, this is true too, my sea monkey world would work and my dog Boo Radley and I could watch them for hours as they held hands in their sea monkey world and lived happily ever after. Maybe. But one thing is for certain. I'll never give up that childhood innocence. It is the reason why I love adventure shows and believe in the possibility of aliens, fairies, and the Loch Ness Monster. I don't want my world closed in and made smaller by disbelief. I want to believe forever. I love you guys, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.